Well, we begin with the word of the day at each of our breakfasts, the importance of having a common language and bridging the gap oftentimes between our faith and professional life. Sometimes there's a vocabulary gap, a gulf that exists, and we don't always know what we share in common, which is often a lot, but it's because our terminology sometimes can be different. So we've discussed principles like subsidiarity and solidarity. We've discussed things like market economy, and today's is fairly simple, although it's very complex, and it takes a lifetime to study and even longer to perfect, and that is virtue. And just on a simple note, when we look at the word virtue and its definition, you can find lots from Aristotle and St. Thomas Aquinas and other sources about what the definition of virtue is, but a basic definition is simply a habit that disposes us to live a morally good life. A habit that disposes us to live a morally good life. To do what is right as God has planned for us. And the founding of the men's business fraternity, considering our values of the apostolate, we decided to go with the traditional virtues that we call cardinal virtues or hinge virtues upon which others rest, and the theological virtues. So you'll see here on our values banner the three theological virtues: faith, hope, and charity, and the cardinal virtues of prudence, justice, fortitude, and temperance. Now, an act is judged as good or bad depending upon whether it contributes to or deters us from the end that we were created for. We call this end our telos, or our final goal at which all of our actions ought to aim. Virtue is acting in accord with this end, which God has created us for. And that's at home, but it's also in business, in our professional life. So when we look at the virtues, they shouldn't be just something that are compartmentalized for us personally. Oh, I'm a virtuous person at home or in my religious practice, my spiritual life. That also applies to you as an integrated person in your business life as well. So what is our telos or our end? Well, Aristotle, in his Nicomachean Ethics, if you've never read Aristotle, I fully encourage you to do so. It's a historical, a classical work that I believe every person would value from reading. He says that the end of the human person is happiness. Not a superficial happiness, but a deep beatitude, a happiness which comes from completeness, fullness for who we are as people and who we were created to be. And we achieve happiness, Aristotle tells us, through the virtuous life. So the answer to today's ills or problems or woes actually can be found in the virtues. Now, when it comes to our faith life, it goes deeper. It goes beyond simply a happiness here, but a supreme happiness in the next world, and that is union with Christ and our Creator. But this also applies maybe for a little reflection to your business. What is the end of your business? What is the telos, the point or purpose of business itself, and particularly the business in which you involve yourself? It's through cultivating the virtues in our lives that we will achieve the happiness that we desire, the supreme happiness of union with Christ. And if we are people of virtue, our business will be virtuous as well. And in doing so, business will achieve its end. Amen?